Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Hit Monkey Season 2, Episode 9. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. Well, first and foremost, we're picking up where the last episode left off, and in the middle of New York, they activate the relic, which obviously the episode title was meant to be like a double layered pun because that's what New York is called, the concrete jungle. I mean, is that New York? I mean, it's the Big Apple, but it's like, I mean, that's used for any like metropolitan city, isn't it? The concrete jungle, or isn't there a very specific city that's called the concrete jungle? Maybe I'm being stupid, but either way, it's just like, yeah, it becomes like, it kind of reminds me of like that What If episode with the seeds that are essentially Groot, and like one of the Black Order gets him in his mouth and then like gets exploded. Obviously it's What If and it's like PG-13, so they're not going to go as explicit as this did, with like people's bodies were ripping apart. You know what it also reminded me of? Like season 3 of Harley Quinn, because Ivy kind of did a very similar thing, trying to make the world go green. So it's interesting. It's just like, oh, exploding out of people's bodies. It's like, oh, that's such a brutal and horrendous way to die, and especially because you just see it like grow out of people, and it's just like, oh, you feel so bad, because it's just like, because it's also a reminder in your head where you're just like, yeah, this show's very specific in the regards of like, once again, it's New York, and literally we can't touch most likely like any very particular Marvel characters, because we probably just don't have the licensing rights to, or we haven't gotten a go ahead from Marvel to use certain characters, so let's use characters that literally no one is using. Because it's like, yeah, this world, once again, it's New York. New York is riddled with so many superheroes. So the fact is, our Hit Monkey squad, once again, it's just kind of like, you have to accept it as is. Just be like, this story is what it is. Like, don't get too caught up in it. It's just one of those things. So like, this is a massive deal. You can make the argument with the Japan situation. I don't know. I'm not well versed in the Japan side of like, I mean, on a global scale, I'm not well versed in like the Marvel Cinematic Universe on a global scale. I definitely don't know it Japan side wise, like other than Silver Samurai. But either way, the point I'm making is, it's just like, it's just kind of a point of like, oh yeah, like literally an apocalyptic event's happening and no one's here to stop it except for our crew. You know, once again, just one of the things you just have to accept of what the show is, what it is. It popped in my mind, but I didn't let it like detract from my enjoyment of it. It's just kind of one of those things you can't help but think about sometimes. Either way, in the aftermath of all this, everyone gathered at Unisys, and you know, Iris is kind of worried about her dad. And I even love Eunice was like, hey, I need to get you out of here because this is what your dad would want me to do. So even if like the world is doomed, I can at least make us live a little bit longer because your dad will want me to take care of you. He's like, yo, Eunice was holding it down, like, yo, I'll look after Iris. But luckily he came back, and he's like, whoa, were you worried about it? She's like, what? No, I'm like, maybe mildly concerned. It's like, it's actually really sweet and endearing. So, but it's like, yeah, what do we do now? Like, we're going up against the 3 members of the co-op are left. So, and now they got the power of the relic. Like, how do we stop this? And lo and behold, they call in all the assassins, none of which showed up episode 7. So Iris lied to him, was like, hey, this is a big payday. That's the only way you're going to draw people in. She was obviously pissed at, what's her name? Danki. The person that Iris hooked up with, because it's like, well, you didn't show up either. Only reason why I knew about like the call from Eunice and stuff like that was because I saw it on your phone, but you didn't show up. And so it's like, all right, you're not the person I thought you were. But yeah, they're trying to convince everyone to join forces in this fight, and Monkey's the one giving this speech, and it's a very harrowing speech of just like, right, we are all effed up people, but we're effed up in our own regards, and we're kind of like a effed up family, and we're here, like, why don't we take this time, like, yes, we're killers, and we've done this and that, but the fact of the matter is, in this moment, we could all be heroes. And Denki's the one who ends up leading, like, the clap and stuff like that, you know, because it's a very beautiful motivational speech. Once again, it is funny that obviously Bryce had to translate for the whole thing. But yeah, everyone was raring to go. Let's do it. It's like, what's the actual plan? We actually don't have one. But we finally do bring the bomb full circle, because like, I figured that had to play a role in some point in time of like, yeah, they had this bomb, and the job that the bomb was for didn't go through. I was like, that has to play a role in something. And lo and behold, second to last episode, it finally comes into play. So Denki is like setting everything up so that the bomb can be used. They have to get it to a very specific area. Basically, Bryce is leading a squad, Monkey's leading a squad with Dot. And obviously you see all the cannon fodder there where you're like, oh, these poor bastards, they're all red shirts getting super murdered. And some of them never even got an opportunity to do anything. It's because there were two characters. One had like, I think, one had blue hair, the other one, did they have pink hair? I can't remember. But like there was a picture of them in episode 7 with Eunice, and I was like, that's not her daughters, are they? It's like, no, they're assassins she works with. And they got killed immediately. They got flung into some thorns, got impaled, and then got like greenery grown out of their body. There was a guy with the knives who got eaten by essentially a Venus flytrap. So I was like, well, that sucks ass. Like, once again, so many of the squad did stuff, like, those squads did nothing, because there were two people with Bryce that immediately, like, yeah, they were helping, like, get loose to train by, like, shooting, like, the branches and stuff, and then they immediately got impaled by some vines. So Gatling's the only one that survived long enough, but eventually got killed by Amara. So you're like, yeah, once again, you knew all these yellow shirts, but I was like, there's no, I was actually scared for Dot. Like, I mean, there's still one more episode. She could get got, but I'd assume not. Circling to the Monkey and Dot situation, I thought when the shot went off, it didn't even cross my mind to think double tap. I was thinking Akiko. Like, I was like, are you really picking now to be your time? It's like, no, with the way the story is, I can assume, like, either she's going to pop up last minute at the end of the season, or she's going to pop up in the middle of everything in the season finale. I have no idea. She was not in this episode, despite kind of freeing herself from Lady Bullseye. So she's probably going to wait for her opportune moment. I mean, Monkey is heavily effed up after his fight with Double Tap. And because he was like, Double Tap. And I love that Double Tap's main concern this entire time is like, well, I got to put you down because you're a traitor, yada, yada, yada. But it was more so like, I got to prove that there was always only going to be one gun guy on the team. You're just, a monkey that used a gun. And so, I mean, Monkey did a pretty badass thing where it's like he tried to shoot Dot, like, Double Tap tried to shoot Dot, and Monkey, like, pulled a little bit of a blood sport and Peacemaker situation there, and the bullets collided, which is like, bullets colliding is always so dope. But yeah, like, he is able to kind of do, like, he's kind of a little gunpowder from the boys, but who else does that? I mean, obviously it's a little wanted, not even necessarily curving the bullet. I mean, I guess like Deadshot and Bloodsport would probably fit in that category, probably Peacemaker too, of like the ricochet shots. And Monkey is getting fucked up, like he's covered in wounds, and he asks a Crow like, yo, do you know where that guy is? And he's kind of like, I have no interest in helping you. It's like, the guy has like a super shiny thing. It's like, all right, he's on this floor. And then Monkey did like the craziest trick shot. Bam, bam, bam. He's like, and Double Tap's like, oh my God, look at you. You're terrible. You're one shot and you fired backwards. And it's like, oh, headshot. Because he's just a regular dude. So it wasn't that hard to kill him. Like, you're exceptional at gun. But it's like, you're also like, yeah, it kind of shut you up at the last minute. So I like to think the last thought in your mind was, wow, I guess I thought I was a gun guy. Turns out he's the gun guy, so I'd like to think that, but it's like, cool. That situation played out the way it did. Poor Gatling got it by Amara because she turned him to stone and smashed him, so it's like, oh, that sucks. If only Bryce could have, like, thrown her out of the train sooner, but poor Gatling, because, like, he was waiting for his gun to, like, pick up speed, and, like, because Bryce tried to tell him to get out of there, but he's like, no, I'm sticking this out. It's like, I mean, literally everyone that came to help, like, I mean, once again, in that room full of people, you knew, like, once again, I guess I wasn't expecting to be that many red shirts. There's actually a handful of people from that room. Like, there's a dude who had, like, 2, I think, butcher cleavers who ended up surviving, like, at the very end of the episode. It's like, oh, so not everyone died? Probably, like, 90% of that group died. They were 90% cannon fodder, yellow shirts. But, I mean, yellow shirts, Jesus, red shirts. So I thought it was actually pretty dope how the Bryce and Amara fight went, because I was like, well, she can regenerate, so, like, how do you, like, destroy, like, you probably have to, like, completely destroy everything about it. Like, she has to probably be vaporized for you to, like, I mean, maybe there's a certain point of damage that she would not be able to recover from, because all we've seen so far is, like, she missing, like, limbs, and half her head got blown off, but she recovers. Like I said, I don't know if it's, like, a Deadpool thing, but, like, as long as, like, there's the tiniest, I mean, I associate with Deadpool, but I think it can happen with Logan, too, of, like, just the smallest bit of you left, you can regrow. I know that's Deadpool, but maybe that's applicable to Logan as well. I don't know the limits of his healing factor. But either way, I thought it was pretty. I was wondering how Bryce was going to handle that because she like turned him to stone, and it happens, and he hugs her, and she's like, "Wait, get off me!" And then like he turns into his ghost form and leaves the body behind, and it's like, "Oh, that's interesting." Because like I was like, "Oh, did you like leave your body?" It's like, well, we know that like when he turns into his ghost form, like whatever state his body's in kind of like gets dropped. So like when he gets shot and he goes ghost, like going ghost, Danny Phantom style. I'm surprised I didn't make that reference sooner, especially with him shifting between his human form and his ghost form, like, you know. So like I'm surprised that didn't come sooner. But the fact is that he was able to leave a version of himself there holding Amara in place, and then like the bomb explodes and kills her. So it's like, oh, okay, we're 2 for 3, so that's been taken care of. At the same time, the office situation is what it is. The plants are growing and killing people left and right in the building as they're trying to fight back the plants. I was actually kind of scared for Donkey Kong. I was like, oh, come on, Iris likes you. And, you know, it's like, right, we'll kind of see where things kind of go from here. And I was like, oh god, like it would kind of suck if she dies, because we are spending a lot of time with her, getting to know her a little bit, especially because Iris, like, that's Iris's girlfriend. Which I even love that came up about Bryce before the train situation. He was like, right, I wish I like taking you to Disney, like, you know, I wish I'd done that instead of running away or scare away your first boyfriend. She's like, you know, I'm gay, Dad. And he's like, well, yeah, but whoever you brought to the house, you know, he's like, that would have been, I wish I was there to tell you that was fine, but then also scare away whoever it is you brought to the house, you know. And it's like that's really sweet, you know. So I do love that their relationship has gotten repaired over the course of all this, as you figured it would. It's still nice to get to this point regardless, you know. So, but obviously it came down to the wire with the whole like Eunice's office. Man, that was also like clutch for Buddy to come in like he did and help. I was kind of scared because like when Iris was the only one, I was like, is everyone else dead? But it's like, no, they just got overgrown by the plants. They weren't necessarily dead yet. So lucky for a lot of people. But Monkey had to go up against not only, well, he didn't have to really directly deal with Boone. He had to deal with Dot, because she was being mind controlled. Because it's like, of course, it's like, how do you deal with a bastard like that, once again, who can like mind control you like that? It's like, oh, he's like, now I'm gonna have both of these traitors kill each other, but he's still saying like, Monkey, you were right here at the very end, you helped us get this far. If it, you know, if it wasn't for us, you'd be purposeless. We gave you a purpose, and you're part of a greater cause. The world, it needs to start over. Like, you could go back to just, you know, living peacefully, you know, and basically build a building blocks to what comes next after like this extinction level situation. But I do love that Monkey's response came down to like what was essentially like, wasn't it like the first thing Bryce taught him was like the middle finger or something like that? So I mean, he's done it before, but now it's like for that to be kind of his like last thing to like Boone, especially because like he was trying to get him and Dot out of there. So like he gets tossed, but like there's vine wrapped around Dot's leg, so they bring her up, and the remote the detonator is there and gets activated, just because, you know, we're down to the wire and it finally got 100%. Iris hit the button, explosion happens, so you're like, okay, the day is saved. I was worried if Dot was going to make it, but she's okay, Monkey's okay, and I believe Bryce shows up afterwards that too, and it's like, oh, he's also down to like his last few minutes. I think the last time we saw the timer, it was at like 24 minutes, I want to say, is all he has left. But Boone isn't dead and proceeds to go, I'm assuming he's going kaiju mode right now. So it's like, well, the relic is kind of making him like not. So it's going to be like, well, how do we go about killing him? And that's where the episode ends. There's not even like a mid-credit stinger or anything. Like, we're just going straight into it. And I wondered, I can't remember, even upon rewatch, I don't remember if episode 9 was like that last season as well. But with all this going on, once again, we still had the thread of Akiko, but first and foremost, we got to deal with this. So hopefully Dot survives this, and maybe she kind of stays with this crew and doesn't go off on her own, because this has kind of become her family. It's going to be heartbreaking if they kill her. There's a good chance they will. I hope they don't. I hope she sticks with them and becomes a part of like the team and crew, especially like since they lost Haruka, which I wonder, will she play any role in this? Like, will she come back as a ghost or not? Like, the fact is that with everything going on, you would assume like, hey, Lady Bullseye came back, Bryce came back, with everything you'd expect Haruka to come back. And maybe Haruka will, but maybe it'll be specifically in the form of dealing with the Akiko stuff. Maybe when it comes down to it, Haruka will be the one that ends up putting Akiko down instead of Monkey when he can't do it, or kind of maybe they pull a little bit of like a Lady Bullseye thing where like Bryce and Haruka took her down, maybe be a Haruka and Monkey thing. There's still the devil, his plan in play. What's going to happen with Bryce? Like once the timer hits 0, is he going to get dragged back to hell? I mean, he won't be able to have his physical form, won't be able to interact with Iris and be there for her physically like that, despite being a ghost. But once again, he doesn't know, because like I said, I don't know, like, it was never really clear like what the stipulation is going to be once he's fully run out of time, and the fine print of it all. So once again, the whole thing of you're not going to want to give up what's going to be the price for all of this. It's unclear whether Bryce has paid the price yet, which I doubt he has, but we'll see how it all plays out. Like I said, there's these threads of how it all plays out in the season 2 finale. So, but really, that's all I want to talk about. To the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.